Hello and welcome to this introduction video on ShareScope Plus and ShareScope Pro. In this brief video, I will be taking you through the basic navigation and functionality of the program. When you open up the program for the very first time, you will see this, the main layout of the program. It's designed to give you a good overview of the market and just the shares that are currently trading on the London Stock Exchange. So I'll take you quickly through all the windows that you can see here. Top left hand corner is the list screen. By default, it will be showing you a list of all the shares traded on the London Stock Exchange. The top right hand corner, you will see a chart of the selected share. Just simply click on a share on the list to change. Bottom right, you will see a detail screen detailing the financial details of the company. In the bottom left, you will see a news feed, and just above that, a footsie 100 graph. If you are running ShareScope on a computer with a fairly small monitor, you might notice that the text on the list or on the detail screen looks quite small. This is because the program automatically adjusts the text size and all the screen sizes to fit on your monitor. If you find this a bit too small to read, you can disable the automatic adjustment. So I'll show you right away how to do that. You click on Tools, Options, go to the Layouts tab and uncheck the two automatically resize options. So automatically resize layout and automatically resize details views. Uncheck these two options and click on OK. I won't be doing that, so at least we can fit everything on my monitor. The next thing you'll want to do is to connect to the intraday feed. As you might have noticed, at the present moment, all the prices are currently static. You're not receiving any intraday prices. To connect, just simply press the connect button on the toolbar at the top here. And after a few moments, you'll be connected to the feed. At this point, you will see the prices on the list start to change, and the footsie 100 graph for today will start updating. Now let's look at some of these windows in a bit more detail. Let's start off with the list screen. Now the list screen, as I mentioned before, at the moment carries the full list of all the shares traded on the London Stock Exchange, but this can be easily changed simply by right-clicking in the middle of the list, selecting Change List, and then choosing any one of the preset lists in the program. So for example, if I click on footsie 100, the list of a footsie 100 stocks will appear on the left-hand screen. If you'd like to see this list screen in a bit more detail, you can ask ShareScope to zoom it up into full screen, and you can do that by simply double-clicking on the top bar at the top of a window. Double-click on it again, and ShareScope will put it back to where it was. So let's keep it zoomed up so we can see it properly while we're talking about it. You'll have noticed the list at the present moment is sorted by market capitalization. So we have the biggest market cap at the top of the list and the smallest market cap at the bottom of the list. You can change this by simply double-clicking on the column that you wish to use to sort the list by. So double-click on the name column heading to put the list in alphabetical order. Double-click on the mid-close percent column to put it in percentage change order. If you double-click on the same column again, it will put it in inverse order by the same column. Now, you will have noticed on the left hand of this list, there's a column titled Flags. These are flags showing you that something interesting is occurring with a company. The N flag will indicate that there are news stories that you haven't yet read that are relevant for the company. If you hover over the N, the title of a news story will appear, and if you double click, the news story pertaining, centric in this case, will open up on your screen, highlighting the name of the company where it's mentioned. Once all the stories have been read, the news flag will disappear. If a news story comes through pertaining Centrica, then the news flag will reappear. There are other flags, for example, in this case for SSC PLC, there's a dividend flag. If I hover over it with my mouse, I can see that it's going to go ex-dividend on the 23rd of July, and it'll give me the details of that dividend. There are other flags, for example, B indicates that it's currently subject to a bid situation. There's another company that wants to try and take over BG Group. Same thing goes for Royal Dutch Shell. Now, the columns that you see here are purely examples of what you can show in ShareScope. These are columns that we think you will find interesting, but you can easily add or remove columns as you please. Now, to add columns, all you have to do is right-click on the column heading area and select one of the Add Column options. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about what all the various add column options do, but explore them and you will soon find out the bits that are of interest to you. If you want to get rid of a column that you've added, you right click on the column heading and select Remove Column. Now, the next thing I'd like to talk about is the chart. So we'll zoom the chart up. Now, the chart here, by default, it will be showing you the entire history of the selected share, in this case Centrica, which began trading in February 97. What we'll see here is just purely simply a line chart of the stock. Now, I won't go into a tremendous amount of detail about all the features because it'll be a separate video for that. However, I'll just take you briefly through the various options that you'll see here on the right-hand side. The first three buttons on the right toolbar will allow you to change the type of chart. So we can go from a line chart to a bar chart to a candlestick chart. The fourth button will allow you to toggle the log scale. So click on it once to change the chart to a logarithmic scale. Click on it again and it will go back to a linear scale. The fifth option will allow you to change the time frame of a chart. If I click on it, at the moment it's on daily bars or daily candlesticks. So each candlestick is 1 day of trading. That's why we can't actually see the individual candlesticks in this case. You can change it to 2 day bars, 3 days bars, 4, 5, weekly bars, fortnightly bars, to monthly bars. There are 3 other shortcut buttons that will allow you to quickly toggle between daily, weekly and monthly. The next button will allow you to choose the time range of display. As I said, by default it will be showing you all the history of the stock, but we can easily change it by pressing this button and then selecting, for example, 1 year. And now we can put it back to daily. If we click on the button below, it will allow us to toggle between the entire history and just the limited period that we chose. No matter what period you choose as your default period, say 1 year for example, you can still zoom in or zoom out of a chart at any time. If, for example, I set it back to 1 year, I click on the chart, drag the mouse so it highlights a portion of it. When I let go, it will zoom into the chart. Now, the very first time you do it, it will give you this warning message. We can just check this to not show it in the future. So it zoomed into the highlighted area. If I want to zoom out, I can just double click on the chart and it'll go back to my default period, which is in this case 1 year. If I double click on it again, it will zoom out again to show me the entire history. And then you can zoom in as many times as we want and then simply double click to go back to the default period. The next button down is a button to adjust the moving averages. Now you'll see the grey line at the top that's going across the screen is showing me a moving average. If I click on this button, I'll be able to add or edit any of the moving averages. At the moment, the only active moving average is this 200 period exponential moving average, which I can modify by simply pressing the edit button, changing it to a 100 period moving average. In this window, we can edit a lot more about moving average. We can add Bollinger Bands, envelopes, etc. I'll leave you to explore then all the possibilities. If we want to add more than one moving average, all we have to do is tick one of the other moving averages, press the edit button to choose the type, period, and color and style of a line. And ShareScope will draw the moving average. As you can see, you can have up to 8 moving averages on the chart at once. The next button down will allow us to toggle the trend lines. So if I click on it, we can see this pale blue trend line. If I press on it again, the trend line will disappear. The next button will allow us to add indicators, all the technical indicators you'll find, RSI, MACD, average true range, they're all here. The next button will allow us to toggle the crosshair on and off. At the moment the crosshair is on, as you can see, press it and the crosshair disappears. And last but not least, the legend. Press it to display the legend, press it again to hide the legend. The legend is quite useful. It allows you to see information about where your mouse is currently pointing. So if we look at the blue area of the legend, it's giving me the date and the price of where my mouse is currently pointing. If you want to modify the legend to add more information or remove information you're not interested in, simply right click on it and the legend design window will open up for you. The next item on our list is the news screen, which is in the bottom left hand corner. Now, the default news screen is a full news feed of all the stories that are issued by our news provider, which is Dow Jones Newswires. To view a story, simply double click on the headline and the story will open up in a separate window. You can edit the font size by simply using the scroll bar at the bottom of the window, making it smaller or larger as required. If you would like to search the news database for stories containing a particular keyword or keywords, simply type in the keyword on your keyboard. In this case, I'm going to search for any story containing the word gold. And here they are, all the stories that contain the word gold in them. I double click on the relevant story and the keyword I was looking for gets highlighted in red. If I use the locate next found button, ShareScope will immediately jump at the story, the bit of the story containing the keyword I was looking for. It will mention at the top what we're currently looking for, so it says search result on gold. And if you'd like to go back to the full news screen, simply hit the escape key. If you would like to see stories for a specific company, on the other hand, there are 2 ways to do that. One, as I mentioned before, the news flags. This will show you if there are any stories that have been issued today relevant for a particular company. On the other hand, if you'd like to do a bit of past research and look up stories that were issued days, weeks, months, even years ago, select the stock and press the News Archive button on the toolbar. That will open up the online archive, which will allow you to search back for many years on published news stories. You can type in the date you'd wish to jump to if you know the date when a story was published, and you can select if to display RNS stories and Dow Jones news stories, or just RNS or just Dow Jones. Just as before, you select a story to display the full text and hit the back button to go back. Just above the news window, we find an intraday graph of FTSE 100. It differs from the end of day graph in the top right hand corner here, in that instead of using the daily open, high, low, close prices to build the chart, it will use the bid, offer or mid price of the stock on an intraday basis to build it. Other than that, the functionality is very similar. We can still change the time frame used for the candlesticks, for example, but instead of using days, weeks, months, we can set the chart to use 1 minute candlesticks, 5 minute candlesticks, hourly candlesticks, or a whole long selection available on the button here. And the last window is the detail screen. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here because there's a lot to learn about designing your own detail screen. However, just a quick overview. There are several different preset designs of detail screens. We'll look through the other ones in a moment. If you'd like to flick through various years of data in the key metrics table, just simply use the left and right arrows here to move back and forward in time. If available, the program will provide up to 3 years worth of forecasts. As you might have noticed, in the top right hand corner here, there's a little red padlock icon. If we click on it, it will show us that the setting is locked, meaning that this detail screen can't be edited. We can't add or remove items from the tables. Now, this is possible as long as you unlock the setting, although I would probably advise against it until you learn a bit more about the program. Now let's move to looking at the other layouts. The next one on the list is Overview. We select it and you can see this is a preset layout which is a good port of call if you'd like to see how the markets around the world are doing generally. We have some key indices at the top, foreign exchange, some commodities, plus some other key indices, commodities, foreign exchange, and some key economic data like gross domestic product here at the bottom. If you select any of the items from any of these three lists here at the bottom, the relevant graph will appear in the bottom right hand corner. As I explained before, if you'd like to see this in a bit more detail, just double click on the top bar to zoom it into full screen, double click again, and that will put it back. Following on, we have the fundamental layout. Now, this layout is designed to look into the actual financial details of a company. On the right-hand side, we'll see there's a much more in-depth view of the detail screen with a lot more information and data. On the top right, we have a list, just as we had on the main layout. We can just click on items, or we can search by typing the name of a company directly into the keyboard. So if I want to see GlaxoSmithKline, I just type in Glaxo, and there it is. The EPIC code of a company will do, or if you have it, the CEDL or ISIN code of the company will do as well. Immediately below the list screen, we will have the directors' dealings and major shareholders of the company. Here we can see who owns what of the company. We can see that BlackRock Investment Management UK Limited, for example, holds 13% of the company for a total of 23.3 million shares. And Schroeder PLC, BlackRock, Morgan Stanley, Schroeder Investment Management, etc., etc. Below that is a broker forecasts table. This will allow you to see the actual breakdown of the forecasts made by each broker who has published a report on the company. So if we zoom this up to see it a bit better, we can see that Peel Hunt LP has an opinion of buy and a forecast profit for the December 2015 financial year of £77.7 million. The figures that you see on the other tables when you're asking ShareScope to display the forecast profit is an average of the consensus given by all the brokers that have put forward a forecast. In this case, Westhouse Securities only has given a price target and an opinion, but hasn't actually published any forecast on profit or earnings per share, etc. Next one down is a news screen. All it does, it simply shows all the news stories that mention the company that we've selected. Click on a different company and a new news window will appear. Just as with the other news screen, simply double click on it to display the story. The next layout is the technical layout. Again, we have a list of shares in the on the left hand side. This list has been sort of compressed to make it as small as possible, so to leave as much space for the charts themselves. Instead of the name, just the epic code of the share remains. However, as I explained before, these are purely examples. You're free to modify the columns on this table in any way you want. If you want the name, you right click on the heading, add general column and select name, and the name will appear. If you don't want it, remove column. Again, I've already taken you through the basics of the chart. Here there are 4 graphs, 2 of them historical and 2 of them intraday above here. One thing that I didn't mention before was the graph design screen. You can get to it by right clicking on one of the charts and selecting graph design. Now again, I won't go into a huge amount of detail because I've recorded a different video about this, but take your time to look through all these options. This is where you set up what the chart looks like. So you can set up the type of chart, the color of the chart. So in this case, if you don't want black and red, you can change it to red and green, for example. And background color and everything that governs the actual aspect of a graph, what it looks like. If there are most of the options you'll get with buttons on the right hand side here, so indicators, moving averages, but there is a lot more to explore on charts. If you want to look into a lot more detail, right click on the chart and on the right click you will see all the various options available. So for example, pivot points, parabolic SAI, Ichimoku charts, etc, etc. There is a lot here to explore. If in doubt, consult the help file or just give us a call. It seems a good time to remind you, if you need us, the support number is here in the top right hand corner of the screen. Click on it and you'll get the full list of contacts for us. After the technical layout, there's the alarms layout. Now, when you install ShareScope for the first time, there will be one default alarm set up. This is purely just a news text search. The alarm will trigger every time a news story containing the words profit warning appears in the feed. On the left hand side is the alerts screen. At the moment there are no triggers, the alarm hasn't triggered, so there is no notifications. When an alarm triggers, the notification of a trigger will appear on the left hand side. If the trigger pertains to a specific stock, clicking on the alert will then display the chart of the stock on the 2 windows below. Setting an alarm is done by using either the 2 toolbar buttons at the top here or on the edit menu at the bottom here. Set end of day or intraday alarm. I'll quickly show how to set up an alarm. If we go back to the main layout, if I want to add, for example, an alarm on arms holding, I will select add share alarm, and I can choose the type of alarm I want to set. Say, for example, I want to be notified if ARM holdings rises by more than 2% in a single day. I select price rise fall. I select the second option, mid, changes by 2% from the previous close. So in this case, if a price either rises or falls by 2% at least from yesterday's close, I will be notified. the next screen I can choose what will happen when the alarm triggers. I can have a screen flash, I can have it play a sound, show a pop-up alert, which is a default. The pop-up alert is simply a little box that will appear in the top right hand corner of your screen. It will appear regardless of what layout you are, so even if you're looking at something completely different, if the alarm triggers, a pop-up will appear to notify you of the alarm having triggered. Open alerts view, I'd advise against this because it is quite intrusive, but some people like it. The alerts view is, the alerts page is what you see in the top left hand corner on the alarms layout. You can also have ShareScope email the notification to a set email address, and you can set it here. Once you're done, you hit finish, and if you go to the alarms layout, the new alarm will appear here. Again, as soon as arm holdings either rises or falls by at least 2% in a single day, the alarm will trigger and the notification will appear on the left hand side. One thing to notice, the notifications will endlessly accumulate. If arm holdings then triggers the alarm a second time, a new notification will appear, and the notifications will keep on accumulating until you decide to clear the list. To clear the list, simply right click on the alerts screen and you'll find the delete options here to wipe out the notifications. Next on our list is the data mining layout. Now this is where you can create and view the results of ShareScope's filtering system. Now I'm not going to go into any details about creating or how to design your own filters. There'll be a separate video for that, just search for it on our website. But I'll just take you through the basics. On the main screen is the actual data mining screen. You'll see on the right hand side there's at the top title of the filter that you're currently viewing, and on the left hand side are the results of those filters. Below there's a brief description of what the filter does. If you want to select a different filter, press the select filter button and you will see there are many defaults that you can view. Below are two charts displaying the end of day and intraday graph of whichever share you selected on the list. If you would like to apply a filter to a different list, a different source list, just change your source option at the top here. So for example, at the moment the Martins Zweig filter is being applied to the entire London Stock Exchange. If you'd like to apply it just to the FTSE 100 stocks, select FTSE 100, or you can choose any of the other lists that exist in the program. In order to create your own filters, simply press the select filter button and then press the new filter button. You give the filter a name, click on OK, and a new blank filter will appear. Lastly, we have the portfolio layout. Now, when you click on it the first time, there'll be an example portfolio loaded up onto the screen, just to show you mainly what you can do. Top left-hand corner is again the list. This simply contains the list of the shares that you've put in your portfolio, not necessarily the ones you've bought, just simply a list that you've built up. In order to add shares to a portfolio, you can simply right-click, select Add a Share to Portfolio, and we can again look for Glaxo, and Glaxo will be added to the portfolio. It won't have any effect on your holdings because we yet haven't recorded a purchase. Below the list is the transaction screen itself. Here we can view all the purchases, sales, dividends paid out and recorded in tabular form. Just like with any other list, you can add and remove columns as you please. In the top right hand corner we have the cash account. This is where the actual cash transactions are recorded. Anytime you add a debit or a credit, for example, very first transaction here is the initial contribution to the account of £10,000, followed by another credit here of £10,000. Below is simply a chart of a selected share, and below that is the value of the graph in, again, chart form this time. Transactions are recorded by simply selecting the share that we wish to involve in the transaction, right click on it and select buy or sell. We enter the number of shares, price per share, the broker charge, any stamp duty or contract levy that needs to be added, and the date of the transaction. You can retroactively, of course, retroactively record all your transactions. Click on OK, and the transaction will appear in the transaction screen, and also as a corresponding cash debit into the total cash balance. The value of a portfolio is displayed at the top here on the summary. There you'll see two numbers. The first one is the value of a portfolio including all of the cash in the cash account. The second one is excluding the cash in the cash account, so it's just the value of the shares held in the portfolio. The third and fourth numbers are simply the change compared to the previous trading day, the total profit throughout the history of the portfolio, the realized profit, which is money that's actually been pocketed either by receiving dividends or selling shares at a profit, and the total amount paid in charges throughout the history of the portfolio. In order to create a new portfolio, we simply press the Select Portfolio button and then select New Portfolio. Again, we give it a name. Click on OK, and here is our new example portfolio. Just as I explained before, we can start adding instruments to this portfolio by right-clicking on the screen and selecting Add a Share to Portfolio, searching for the instrument that we wish to add and clicking on OK. Alternatively, if you are on a different layout, for example this one, and you're looking through shares, suddenly you find a share that is of interest to you, you can select it, right click and select Add Selected Share to Portfolio Example 2. Click on it, and now if we go back to the portfolio screen, we'll see Kingfisher has been added to the portfolio. Always remember that the option when you right click on a share will always be to add the selected share to the active portfolio. The active portfolio is simply the last portfolio that you were looking at. So if you no longer want this action to add shares to a portfolio example 2, we can simply change the selected portfolio to a different one, and now direct line will be added to the example portfolio. Now, portfolios aren't necessarily used to record transactions. They can simply be used as your own personal lists of shares. So you can view these lists in the list screen of any of the layouts, just as you can view any of the preset lists. So just as you do with any of the other lists, you right click, change list, and instead of selecting one of the presets, you select Portfolio, choose which portfolio you want to view, click on OK, and that portfolio will appear, and that will be your list. You will have noticed that there is one more layout button on the toolbar, marked simply Layout 8. If you click on it, you will get absolutely nothing. This is a blank layout that you can use to design your own. Everything we've seen up to now, these are have been created to facilitate you, so you don't have to then create the layouts yourself, but they are, remember, just purely examples. You are free to modify them in any way you want. I'm going to create a separate video to look into details on how to create layouts, but once you're in front of a blank layout, you can just open up Windows by right-clicking on the screen, going to New Window, and then choosing, for example, a FTSE 100 list. You can resize it, move it around, and then add a historical graph, for example. If you right-click, you can auto-link it, so now the graph is linked to the list. If you want to shut a window down, you click on the X and the window will close. Now you're not limited to 8 layouts, you can have up to 100. If you want to add a new layout, you can press the Add New Window Layout button and this will create a new layout. It will just add the button to the list at the top here. One last thing left to mention is tables and settings. Now you'll have noticed that throughout the various layouts, the charts are displaying different information. Some of them have moving averages, some of them have indicators. Now, if you notice, if you click on a chart, buttons at the bottom here are referring to the setting used for that particular chart. The setting is a template, so that at the moment we are looking at the template called main. If we click on features, it will still be a chart of BP, but with a different set of options. You can click on line chart, MACD RSI. Now always remember, any changes you make to the chart, so for example if we were to add a moving average to this chart, it's adding the moving average not to the chart of BP, but it's adding the moving average to the setting called 1 month candles, meaning that any chart anywhere in the program which uses that setting will have that moving average added to it. As for charts, also tables have got their own settings. So the default table here is again called main, but if I click on small or fundamentals or ratios, these are all different tables that have been created. Again, you can create your own. If I select, for example, table 10, it's a completely blank table that has nothing more than the name of a share, which you're free then to add to as I've shown before. Same thing, we've got a whole list here, but you can add up to 100 tables. All you have to do is just press the add button to create your new blank template. This works for tables, charts, and every other type of window in the program. This ends our introduction tutorial on how to use ShareScope. Feel free then to continue and explore the program yourself. Always remember that if you have made a mistake and you like to undo, use the button, the top left hand corner, the left pointing arrow to undo any mistakes. Look on our website, there are more training videos that you can look through. There are documents that detail particular functionality, or give us a call or send us an email and we can help you out with any queries you might have. Thank you for listening and enjoy.